Now here we are, 3 steps to painting rocks. So here's the brushes that I'm using. You can, if you have some flat brushes, that'd be great. I'm just using a flat sable or synthetic brush. And they're only size half, it says a half, but I mean they're all have different numbers on them because of different brands. And I have a fan brush. And I have a bristle brush, and that's another small one, probably a 2. And I have a long liner brush. And I have another small bristle and another smaller liner brush. And I have a palette knife. Now you don't have to have all this, it's just that I want to try to show you some techniques. And we're going to do it first of all in our 3-step method. And what I have here are paint. The paints that I have are the primary colors. I always have the primary colors on there because you can use them for all kinds of colors. So I just have the red, yellow, and green and blue, brown, black, and white. And the primary colors are red and yellow and blue. And you can use cad yellow, cad red, ultramarine blue, or any blues, anything you have on hand, because not everybody has all those colors. You can use sap green if you like. Brown, you can use burnt umber, burnt sienna, and some white. And it can be whatever colors you have on hand, because you don't want to not be able to do your paintings because you don't have the colors that they say in the videos. As long as you got the primary colors in black and white, you're on your way. So let's first of all, I'm just doing this on a canvas. You can do this is only a paper that I did it on before. It's a watercolor paper. I'm going to use a canvas for the video. It's just a canvas board. And as you can see, sometimes I reuse them. So hopefully now I'll get this set up for you. And here we go. Okay, so we'll do our first rock and our first step. Now the first step is just to take some of your black paint. We're just going to start with a black underpainting for now. And just take a line, straight line like that. And then make a hump and fill it in. And that's the beginning of your rock. That simple, that quick. That's how fast I want to make it. So easy for you that you'll just love doing rocks. So I'm going to do 2. So I'm going to do 1. Did that one there. And I'm going to do another one basically the same because I want to show you the wet on wet and dry on wet, dry brushing on wet technique. So you can choose which one you find better for you. So let's get that done first. Good. So now you have 2 rocks. I'm going to let one dry. Okay, now that was your first step. So I wanted to do your first step. And now you take the same brush that you just used, which was your flat sable brush or synthetic. Okay. And you can, now I said I wanted to have 1 wet and 1 dry. So the wet one here, we'll put the highlight. Your second step is put your highlights on. Okay, so with the highlights on the wet one, they might be a little harder to get. So just add white to your black paint and get a nice light gray. So just add, I'm just taking my dirty brush and going into white. Now give you a nice, bright, there you are. And so you're going to start at the top of the rock. Now both of these are wet, so wet on wet. This is your wet on wet. And you'll put that up there like that. See how the bright then turns to a gray. So it's really hard to get the lighter version of your, there we go. Good. So that's one way. And then you can add a little more white to get it bright again. But it's a little harder because it's blending in with the wet paint. And it's also taking in some of the black paint, so it's a little more difficult to blend it out, so as you can see. But you still get your different shades and shadows and things. So that's your second step. So let's try to the dry and wet. We try the dry brushing technique. So I'm going to use a bristle brush for this. I find bristles, they spread the paint around a bit better. So we'll try that. So let's pick up some of the gray paint, the light gray that you made, okay? And what you're doing is you're dry brushing. So you put paint on your brush, and then you're going to take a bit of tissue and wipe off the paint. So there's hardly any paint left on it. And then you're going to take the top of your rock and you're going to scrub that highlight into your rock. Now see, because it's dry underneath, now you can scrub around without worrying about picking up. But still, because it's so dark underneath, so if you pick up more white paint and wipe it off, then you go back over it again. And then, but it will be a little brighter for you. Make sure your brushes really don't have hardly any paint on it. That way you won't get too much paint on it, because you're going to cover up what's underneath, because the rock underneath is now dry. So there's the two techniques. That's your second step. And now your third step is to get your liner brush, a nice liner brush, and let's do our shadows and our cracks in the rock. So let's go in here. I'm looking for cracks. I can sort of see them. They're there, you know, you can always pick them out. You'll see them. So as you can see, we'll finish our cracks right here. So underneath, we'll just bring them up. It's almost like you can see them in the shadows that you made accidentally because you're just scrubbing your paint around, so things happen. And I can see a few little cracks going on. I might even make just a little one here and that way. And then these are nice over here. I got a few little cracks over here. And you can just play around with your, so when you do your 3 steps, you can play around with your rock then after that, just to do some touch-ups and make it the way you want it. You can even add more highlights if you want to, okay? So you can take your brush again. Be good to have it over here so my arm won't get in your way. And so you can take your brush again, either brush. I like using the bristle brush because it kind of moves the paint around a bit. So you can even add, so after everything is dry, you can dry brush a little bit more paint on the top there, or you can, you know, just put a little bit more highlight. And where you think about where the sun is coming in, then you can put that highlight on that side, say. That way you'll have, the sunlight could be on this side, okay? So then you can put on a little more highlight after everything is done. After all your 3 steps are done, then you can do whatever you want with your rock. Just don't lose what you already did, okay? So just keep playing around until you get what you want. And so your third step will be to put on your shadows, and then after that, then you can do whatever you want. So you can just make some highlights, add a few little extra cracks, whatever you want to do. Find out where the sun is coming from, so make sure that's where you put your lightest value, we call it, okay? Your lightest highlight. So that's an easy way to do a rock. It's not so hard. It's just, if you get your 3 steps, you'll be able to accomplish getting a rock done pretty fast. See, you can play around with it and do whatever you want. Make sure your brush is nice and dry when you're doing this part of it, okay? Because you can see that my brush is not dry enough, and I'm trying to show you about highlights, and here I am covering up all that nice work I just did. That's okay. I like experimenting. I like to experiment. It's fun. Okay, so let's move on to another rock. See, I can't stop painting. Isn't that cool? Good. A few little cracks there. I could spend all day painting my rocks. Alright, let's do another one. Now this time we will make a long flat rock. Big old long flat rock. Like, maybe like this one here. Let's try that one. Okay, so let's get our black. I'm going to get dark under. I'm going to take some blue and black this time. blue, maybe even a bit of red. I think I'm just going to experiment with some colors for a bit of fun. Black and blue and red. Now I'm just going, this is only for the underpainting. And to make sure you can see it, let's see. There we go, that should do it. Okay, so we'll make a nice long line. And then we will get the shape. So probably it goes up like this. And maybe it goes down like this. And then pull it over. And fill it in. There we go. See how easy that is? All you're doing is getting your shapes. And now you can clean off your brush. Just wipe it off in your tissue. No need to go back into the water all the time. And then just add white to that color you just made. And we will then put that color on, start at the top and pull over something like you did over here. And then pull another one over here. And another one here. And a little bit over here. Just wherever you think you need the highlight. And we need more white to highlight those. Just touch and pull. Good. Let's see. Yeah. We can take this one here, go straight over here. And this one, we need more white. Pull over. Maybe a little one inside here. See, that gives you that kind of a rock. Want more highlight? Let's put some on the top here. So you can, that might be too much. So you're going to clean your brush, dry it off, and then you're going to move it around. So I'm going to use my bristle brush for that because I like the way they move the paint. And I'm just going to move that in here. Here we go. And then your third step, of course, is to darken up your cracks. Okay, so you can almost see cracks in there, right? So I can see one over here. And I can see one in here. And I'm going to push that back into the rock a little bit just to give it some shape. And then I'm going to probably bring this one over and up into this one here. And it gives you these nice little cracks. Yes. So, that's kind of a nice rock. Let's see what else we can do. Okay, so why don't we try another rock where you can make maybe 3 rocks out of one. So let's try whatever color you want. It can be black and blue again. Try put some green in there. I'm just mixing colors, nothing in particular. So I'm going to make this here, and then I'm going to make a hump and a hump and a hump. So you just fill it in. There we go. And you got more rocks instead of just one rock. So you have several rocks. Well, 3. And then you're going to take your brush. So that's your first step. You got your shape of your rock. Fill it in. Made your humps and fill it in with your black or your blue or your greens or your yellows or reds, whatever colors you want. And now I'm just going to add white to that color that I made. White. And I'm going to take, pretending the sun can be on the left or the right. I'm just going to do so start at the top and you go pull down on the right and over here and over here and over here. See all kinds of rocks going on there now. So I'm just going to take my bristle brush again and I'm going to clean it off. Make sure that it's dry enough so that it'll spread without spreading it too much. See how it softens it up a bit? You don't even have to soften up if you don't want to, if you want a rough look. So there we go, and you can put some in the back. And if you want to have a little bit of blue in the back for the shadow, you can do that too. Put some blue. Good, so that's a rock there, and you can also add a bit of white, and you can also make some little rocks down here if you want to, just by touching and pulling. There we go, touch and pull, and that gives you a few little bumps and rocks down here. You get lots of space down there. And if you want me to lighten that up there a little bit for you so you can see it, I'm just going to add a bit more white. Like that. See? So now you got tons of rocks. So you can have as many rocks as you want. And then your third step, of course, is to get your dark colors and make a few cracks. So when you go in to make cracks, go into dark areas and then just pull a little few into the rock itself. Okay? So say we have a shadow here, and we can pull it into the rock a little bit. Maybe one here. Like I say, don't always have to have cracks if you don't want them. So let's say just shadow here, and we'll just pull it into the rock. So, let's see if I can get some more cracks in there. So I think that's a nice little crack there. And we have some shadows here. So I'm going to darken that. Bring it up here if you want to make some dark cracks, and then you can come to the front of this one and pull it over, pull it in towards the rock to get a bit of a different look to it. Good. Well, today I'm going to show you how to do 3 easy steps to painting a snowy mountain. And what I'm going to do is draw out my mountain first with a watercolor pencil. A watercolor pencil will blend in with the rest of the paint because it turns into paint. So we'll take a watercolor, now you can do it with chalk if you want to, but a watercolor pencil will blend in with your colors because it turns to paint. So we're going to get some peaks first. Let's get our peaks. So let's draw them out first. And then, once we get our peaks done, we'll be able to paint them in. Nice and peaky for this one. Lots of nice peaks for your mountains. Now there we go. So you can have as many peaks as you want, and then you get it started that way. See? So that'll make it easier for you to get your peaks before you start painting, because then you don't have to do as much adjusting. So take your flat chiseled edge brush, synthetic, and mix up a nice dark background color for your mountain. So this will be your second step. Your first step is to draw out your mountain peaks first. So let's get a nice dark background. I'm just going to add some ultramarine blue, a bit of red, and a bit of burnt umber. And I'm just going to mix that together for a nice dark, mostly blue though, nice dark blue. Okay, so that's all you need there. And then we will fill in our mountains. So just fill them in, start where you want as long as you get to the peak and come down. I'm just using the chiseled edge of the brush. Get all those peaks filled in. There we go. See how those peaks help you get your shapes, and then you don't have to adjust too much. Fill in this one here. Lots of paint to get it started. Double load your brush and come down as far as you want, depending on how big you want your mountains. There we go. Get it covered nicely. See how it's starting to take shape? Some more paint. Make sure you get lots of paint on your brush. Look, they're full. And that will help you fill in those areas without having streaks or having to scrape on the paint and go back and get more all the time. There we go. I've just sort of gone diagonal to the right because you can almost shape up your mountains while you're doing it this way. You can go half that way and half that way if you want. And that way you'll have an idea of where to shape up your mountains. Okay, you need more paint. There we go. So always load your brush. Don't let it go too dry. Let it go too dry, you're going to get this right here. Okay. If you're using a really big canvas, I would suggest that you use smaller canvases to practice on, or paper. You know, watercolor paper, acrylic paper, something like that, or cardboard. Practice on first. And if you're planning on doing a big painting, a little practice in first, and then you won't waste all your paint. Good. See, the mountains are shaping up already. Good. So like I say, come down as far as you want. And now we have some nice mountains. See, if you go to the right, half the mountain to the right and half the mountain to the left, and you almost see shapes there already. But I'm going to show you another way to get your shapes properly. So if you're happy with that, if you need 2 coats, fine, put 2 coats on. If you don't, just leave it at that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take some chalk. So step 1 was drawing on your lines with your watercolor. And step 2 is filling in your mountains to get their shapes. And step 3 is to take some chalk. Take your chalk and make your squiggly lines. I've had another video on mountains before too, and there were 3 steps. This one is 4. So take the very tip of your mountain and make a squiggly line. That will help you get some shapes, okay? So that's one squiggly line. You can even start a squiggly line anywhere you want to. It can be over here. It can be wherever you want it. All you're trying to do is figure out what side of the mountain you want for the sunlight, and it keeps you in control of where your brush is going to paint. And because I'll show you now when it's done. And let's try another one over here. A squiggly line over here. So you can even go way over here if you wanted to. So you can have any kind of squiggly lines you want. This one can be down here, and this one can be here. So as long as you got a line there, that really helps you keep control of putting your paint on your mountains. Now I'm going to use an angular brush. Great brush for flowers, synthetic, chiseled edge. And you don't have to use this if you don't want to. You can use a flat brush. Whatever brush works for you, but I would suggest it's a chiseled edge because we can get right up against the edges here, okay? And you have better control. So you can dry this paint in the back here. You can dry it because we are going to use some white paint. So we still need to get some shadows. And we're going to use some of that dark paint that we used for our background. So we'll use that to get some nice highlights on your mountain, some snow, some nice snow. So we'll start at the top on this side, the squiggly line on the right side, and we'll just pull down some snow. Just pull it down and leave some openings. Okay, so just leave some openings. Now we're going to put another coat of white paint on there to make it like really like snow-capped mountains. Okay, so just put that, start at the top, and when you work your way down, just leave some holes. Here we go. Okay, so that's that one, and then we'll take another one, and we'll start at the top, and because that nice chiseled edge, angular top, that nice pointy top, I can take my brush and control that top part that I want. And I'm using a squiggly line to show me where to go. And I'm just putting on some, just use short strokes and leave some holes. See? Just leave some holes. Okay. stay up against the squiggly line and make sure you leave. See, isn't that pretty? Make sure your next coat is got some of that darker blue in it, so it won't be too bright yet. We just want to get an idea of how we're going to make our mountains, so get our snow on there. So I'm using that angular brush for that top. Helps me keep my peak. And because we're using shadowy white, it's okay to come down, but like I said, leave openings. Now see, if you're using a palette knife, that would leave openings for you. So we're not using a palette knife. This is for people who have a really hard time with palette knife. I may be able to come up with an easier solution with a palette knife, but a lot of people have a hard time when they're starting off mountains to use a palette knife. So the next best thing is your brush. Flat chiseled edge brush. There we go. Now, good. Now you can also use a fan brush. I'll show you a couple of different ways you can do this. I've used this in my other video. I can leave a link to my other video if you like. So I'm just picking up some of the blue and white again. And I'm going to go to the top of here. And I'm just going to pull down. And see how the fan brush leaves holes for you? Just leaves the holes for you. You can go back over what you did down here. Alright, so, but you can see the fan brush, I like the fan brush best, but I want to show you different ones. They still leave holes, alright? And come, use your squiggly line. Good. Good, good. And I'm using the chiseled edge of this brush. I'm not doing it this way because it's too hard. Keep control. It's all about control, see? You're the one that's in control, not your brush. You have, well, your brush helps, but you got to be in control. If you lose control and your paint takes over and your brush takes over, then you get very confused and disappointed. So that's that. So we're doing, you know, this step here to get on that paint, getting the snow look. Now I have two different palette knives here. So I want to show you different ways that you might be able to, you could, what it is, it takes practice. And I'm just scraping it on the corner. I'm left-handed, so you might need, I'm going to put it on both edges. I'm going to put it on the whole bottom because it makes it so much easier for you to do that. So I'm just putting it, white paint with my dark mixture on my palette knife on the two edges. I'm just going to do it that way. And then I'm going to start, like I said, I'm left-handed, so if you're right-handed, you might want to do it this way, I guess. But I'm doing it this way for all you left-handed people. And see, if you could get the hang of that, that gives you the better. See how it leaves holes for you? I'm just laying it down. I'm just laying it down and pulling it down. So if you got paint on the whole back of your brush, that will, you can lay it down. Just either the corner, there we go, just the corner, or lay it down flat. You'll still get those holes. So getting the holes is the important thing, because the holes leave all that nice shadows. And let's try this one now, just see what happens. So this is a little bit of a different shape. So I'm just going to put it on both sides, and I'm just going to touch and pull. That one don't work as good as the other one. I like the other one better. Not getting anything out of this one. I don't want to do that. See how you have to experiment? But I don't like that one. I think this is the one that most artists use when they use a palette knife. but it's not working for me. You have to use whatever works for you, okay? Never mind what anybody else says. You can look at lots of videos and they'll tell you use this and use that, but if you can't, don't give up, because that's the worst thing about you know, looking at videos and they say do this and do that and this is the right way to do it, and then you get discouraged because you're thinking, oh gosh, I can't do it because they told me to do it a certain way and I didn't do it right. But really, that's not true. You got to find your own way to paint. It's your own way to do anything in life, really, isn't it? So find your way, your own way, and then you can, whatever works for you, as long as you got the basics, in painting. So if you want to do things your own way, but you still need the basics of color mixing and shapes and composition and focal points and all kinds of stuff, yes, learn all those basics. But when you go to put on your paint, use whatever colors you want, but make sure that they harmonize with each other and whatever. But just enjoy the painting process, and the more you know about it, the more you'll enjoy it. Now I'm going to get some color in that shadow area. Is really nice, but I still want to have a little bit of depth in there. So I'm going to take my shadow color. So once you get that base color done, you can keep that and just add some white to it, and you'll get some different shades, different values of that color. Okay? So I'm just making it a little bit lighter, and I'm going to pull down some lines back here just to suggest, these are just little short strokes in the back, just to suggest that there's a bit of snow back there too, and I might even put a little bit of snow back there. And up here, that way you can straighten up your lines. Good. Leave little holes. You still want those darks to come through. Okay, see that? Over here. Good. Just these little bits of, just see, because you need almost 3 values on your paintings, no matter what it is, like dark, medium, and light. And so if you have 3 values in your paintings, they'll come alive for you. Here we go. They're shaping up, aren't they? Now clean off your brush and we'll put our final coat of snow on there. We may have a final coat. Depends on, you know, how white you want. Mostly the peaks will be the brightest, because we want to show a snow-peaked mountain or a snow-capped mountain. I keep starting in this middle one here because it's the tallest. So, but yeah, so your paint can be dry or it can be wet. But I'm finding that if it's wet, then it's just going to blend in what's already there, and you can't get a really nice bright white. Because right now I'm just adding pure white this time. All right, so just pure white, just to get that really nice snow peak. Just the top. Don't touch anything else. Just the top. We'll worry about the rest after. See how pretty it is when you just do the top? Look. Just little strokes of white on the top. Don't be tempted to go over your openings there. Don't be tempted. Just go to the very top. Good. Now, what we can do is add a little bit as we come down a little bit. Just here and there. We'll probably put one here. Probably a little bit here. Probably we'll come down over this mountain here. And so you can do it, shape it up the way you want it now, see? Just using pure white. If your paint is still wet, they'll blend together. You can even tap at it. If you tap at it, you'll get all these ridges. There we go. Tap, 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 tap. Tap, 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 tap. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, 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 tap. Tap. There we go. If you tap at it, you'll get some really nice ridges and stuff. But you don't have to do that all the way through. See all the nice snow coming out? Look. Little bits of snow here, a little bit of snow there, a little bit of snow here. I'm going to leave that there. Looks kind of cool. See? I made my own decision. A little bit here. Maybe a little bit here. Tap on a little bit here. See, and you get all these shapes as you're doing that. Isn't that cool? Look. Look at all those cool shapes. And that squiggly line certainly helped you. Right, a little bit here, a little bit there. Jumping over places. There we go. I want to get some more up on this peak here to make it nice and bright. I might wait for that to dry completely, and then I'm going to add more white only to the top. Right now I'm just trying to find places where it might be some extra mounds of snow. I'm just pushing on. I'm pushing my brush, tap or push, tap, 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 push if you want. Right, let me get a mound of snow then, see? Or we just pull a little bit, then you're going to get just a little bit of snow. Alright, let's try a little bit more on the other one. And then we'll wait for it to dry. And then we will, you can even change up that back, you know, anything that you want to do. Just move your brush around and have some fun. If you want to change up, let's see, if you don't like the shape here, say, then make a little squiggly line, just get it up like that, and then start pulling it down. And you get a different shape. Good. But I kind of like the rugged edge, so that didn't come out as rugged as I would like. But I'll put some shadow back into that. Alright, let's let that dry and add some peaks. So with your dirty brush that has white on it, just use a little bit of that for this other side. Just a little bit, not much, just a hint. Just a hint there might be some snow back here, not much. You know. So, you know, you have a look at some pictures of mountains and see how the sun is shining on them and where it's shining and where most of the paint is and where most of the snow is. And that will help you decide where you want some of your snow. So I'm just guessing right now because I'm just making it up as I go along. So I'm just thinking, you know, maybe there's a bit of light back here somewhere, but not very much. You can even put some dark blue paint on again. If you mess it up, don't worry. Go back to your original color, okay? No, don't destroy your painting or get upset. Just put dark paint on it again and just put some more darks in between what you just did. That's all. That's all. Good. Now, so I'm just going to pick up some white paint. And hopefully this is dry, it should be. And I'm just going to add more white to the very top. I'm not going to come down very far this time because I just want to, these are pretty high up in the sky, so they're pretty white at the top here because they're full of snow. They're the highest peak. They probably got more snow on them than the rest of the mountain. Right, just just a little bit on the top there. Maybe right here too. Maybe right here. See how that brightens up when you... See? Good. Good, good. So, see how it's bright around the top there now? Love this this brush here for doing this because you got that nice little pointy top to it, see? It helps a lot to keep those peaks. Hi guys, this is Allison Prior. I have 3 easy steps to paint a mountain today. And so the first step is to take a piece of chalk and draw out your mountain first, just to get an idea of how you want it to look. So if you're left-handed, you start over here. If you're right-handed, you can start over here. So I'm just going to start over here, and I'm going to make a small hill, and then I'm going to make a taller hill, and then I'm going to make another smaller hill, and a couple other smaller hills, and a big tall one again. And so you can make any shape that you want. I'm just giving you some ideas of how to do a mountain. So just get your shape first, any shape you want. You can even look online or look at some of your pictures or for mountains and see what the shapes are, and just pick those. And then just take any flat chisel brush or a flat sable brush. I like this one because it has a chiseled edge, and I'm just going to fill it up with any colors you want, any dark colors. You can have any colors you want for your mountains, and just fill that in there so you can get your shapes. So there we go. So at least now when you fill in, you can see the shapes. You can always change them if you want as you go along, but right now let's just put in these shapes. So I'm just going to use black paint for the video, but you can use any colors you want. It could be deep red, orange, any dark colors. You can mix all the colors together, and we'll just put in our mountains. I'm just coming down here just to get enough room so we can see those shapes. So there's the shapes. So see how the chiseled edge goes up against your chalk, and using chalk is good because then if you didn't like it, you can always rub it out just like if you're doing on a chalkboard. Okay, so we're getting some shapes, and so you got some tall ones and short ones. We'll just fill it in with black or whatever colors you want, any dark colors, because it depends if you're putting snow on your mountains or if you're just having some mountains in the background. But at least it'll give you some idea of how you can make these mountain shapes, because I know some people have a hard time with the palette knife. So we'll just go with brushes for today. Alright, so we're almost done with our shapes. So there we go. We have our shapes done. Now I might fix this shape up here a little bit. So you can fix them up as you go along. And this is a good way now to put your shapes the way you want them. So use your chalk and then shape them up after you get it done to the way you want them. See, that makes it so much easier. Until you get used to using a palette knife, or, you know, as you see other videos, it can be a little complicated. So this makes it a little bit easier. So the next thing you're going to do is you can dry it if you want. You can dry it, because right now I'm going to show you a way to get some really nice shapes to your mountains by using chalk again. So number 1 is to draw your shapes with chalk, and number 2 is to paint in your mountains and really shape them up. So that's number 2, is paint the mountains. And take a piece of chalk, this is still number 2, because we're working on getting shapes, and you're just going to take from the top of the hump of the mountain, and you're going to make this squiggly line. So make squiggly lines coming, and these little squiggly lines will help you get some nice shapes to your mountains. So just make little squiggly lines to help you get some shapes. So you got those squiggly lines, okay? So here they are. There we go. Squiggly lines. So you can make those squiggly lines whatever way you want them, but as long as they come from the top of the mountain down through the center area. Okay? So next, what you're going to do, number 3, is you're going to highlight it. Now you can highlight it with a fan brush because, like I say, the palette knife, some people are not used to it, so a fan brush would work. And all you need to do is, right now I'm just going to use some white paint, and I'm going to add a little bit of black to it, just to gray it up, because we don't want it too white, because we're not really trying to put too much snow on there. But I'm going to take my fan brush and I'm going to go to the top of the mountain and stay inside that line that I made, and I'm going to pull down not straight down, but diagonally, and I'm going to pull down these nice little lines with my fan brush, and that keeps some of the darks underneath. There we go. And try another one. So we'll follow that line. So there's your squiggly line. So follow that line, and that will help you know where to go with your fan brush, with your paint, so that you get some nice shapes. So there we go. So then you don't have to guess. It's done for you. So start at the top of this mountain and diagonally come down to the right, go over to that squiggly line, and now go back and follow that squiggly line over here and pull down diagonally, and see how it's starting to shape up, and that squiggly line helps you. It helps you make that shape. This is the part that people have a hard time with, getting that shape there. Especially with a palette knife, you see the videos and they just, you know, make all these shapes, and if you're more experienced, then yes, you can make those shapes, no problem. But this will help you get an idea. So let's start at the top of this mountain, and we pull over diagonally right over to that other squiggly line. You can even go up a little bit, it's okay, and then come back over. Now you know you can't go past that squiggly line, because if you did, you probably wouldn't know where to go, or you get a little lost. I know I did when I first started. So this is what I came up with to help people who are just beginning to try to make some hills and mountains. So let's go to the top of this mountain and pull diagonally down towards that squiggly line, and now you can't go past that squiggly line because it's there to help you. Alright, so we got a couple more to do. Top of the mountain, and pull down diagonally, and pull down. Now I'm pushing a little bit too hard, so I'm losing some of my black underpainting, so I got to be careful with that. So try to get this nice, try to keep some of your darks underneath. Doesn't have to be perfect, because you can always straighten it up later. But right now I'm just trying to show you how to get some shapes to your mountains. Okay, so I'm going to go way back here. There's my squiggly line. See? That cool? So here's another one. Top of the mountain, pull to the right, pull down. Use the very tip of your brush. That will help you keep some of those black, keep some of the black underpainting or dark underpainting. Okay, so there we go. Just these little lines pulling forward. Good. And we have one more to do. So here's the top of the mountain. Pull diagonally. And watch that squiggly line. Don't go past it. And there we go. So now you got some mountains. See, you got the shapes now. And now you can do anything you want with them. Now you can put some more snow on the top of the mountain if you want. Here we go. You can do anything with them now because you got the shapes. And you got the shadow on the back, because we'll say that the sun is coming in from the right and the shadow is on the left. So let's put some shadow color in there. So all you got to do is put some blue and white together, make a bluish color, and then pull back from the top of the mountain and don't go past that squiggly line, and now you know where to go on the back. You can just keep using your fan brush for now, and just put the corner of the brush in these smaller areas and just pull them back. Pull back the blue. The blue gives it a nice shadow, and here we go. And you can play with them and do whatever you want. Now that you got your shapes, you can have some fun with them. So I think I'm gonna just leave that at that, because that's a little lesson in how to get some hills and some shapes, and how to, you can add color to those. You can add more paint. See, now you can just go wherever you want now, because you know that squiggly line kept you where you're supposed to be. You can play with them and do whatever you want with them now. You might even be able to use the palette knife now, because you got it all in place. So I hope this helped you. So you enjoy this lesson. If you got any questions, just let me know. And I'll just leave it at that for now. It's pretty simple. Just a simple, short little video. So step number 1 was to draw the mountains with your chalk. Okay. And the step number 2 was to fill it in with your background color, your underpainting, and then make a squiggly line down the center so you can get that nice shape. And number 3 was to highlight with a fan or palette knife if you can do it. And that's about it. So I think that's it for now. So you guys have a great painting day, and I'll see you in my next video. Well, thank you so much for watching my video today. And if you liked my video, you can give me a like, you can share my video, and you can subscribe and press the notification button so you can get lots more videos like you've seen today. And I'll be seeing you in the next video. Bye.